You skipped the how are you doing and just went for the how are you really doing. I like that.
Do you like the fame that comes with music?
I'm going to do something that musicians should never do, which is quite my own song. The actual phrase came from something Jameela said. It's a song called Choose Me.
What does your dad, James,
So I'm still feeling it, but I think it's because of dad stuff. That's not how I want to let go.
I tried.
Nice one though.
Hey everyone. So we met at a dinner. It was a nice convo and it was just the spark, and we finally meet in my city, Dubai. We've had over 2-hour conversation, and I was telling him, I think he was explaining how his art form is into the lyrics and the songs that you hear, and it simplifies his mind and his philosophy. And he thinks that you're not interested in his philosophy. I think you will be. So you're gonna see some behind the scenes of his thought and how James thinks and his life. And there's a lot, I think, that you can enjoy and hopefully debate also within your families, within your friends. I hope you enjoyed it.
I loved it.
I'm
Great
glad.
to chat.
Me too, I enjoyed it. So always subscribe, support, and my job is to, whether you subscribe or not, my job is to always give you my best and the best minds and the best stories. And if you know James, I hope you get to know him a bit differently. And if you don't know him, find him. Hunt him down, get his music, support. He's on to something really special. You're gonna hear about it. And I think people like him with this bravery and courage deserve the support from you. It's important. Each one, I think, is important. And I think he knows how to show love to his supporters and through a genuine way. So enjoy the convo.
Thank you for having me, man.
All right. Ready?
I'm ready.
من زمان, huh? Hi, James.
Hi.
How are you really doing?
I'm really doing well, actually. Yeah, I feel good. That's you skipped the how are you doing and just went for the how are you really doing. I like that. I feel good. Yeah, I extended my trip in Dubai for a day because I wanted to experience more of it, and I think in the past I've always just wanted to be in and out of places, and this is the first time I've been here, so I just wanted to do it properly, and I think that's a mark of knowing it's going to be okay, because I'm on my own. So like knowing it's going to be fun even on my own, I think that was proof to me that I am okay.
Yeah, like I've never traveled alone. Like I can't recall. Maybe I have, maybe by mistake or because it was uni days. But it's been a long time. And my mother always says, you need to travel alone, you need to travel. And I like my own company. I'm usually not bored alone, but I just don't have a lot of alone time.
Yeah. You've got a brother, right?
I have a lot of brothers.
Oh, right.
Yeah, total, we're 8 boys and 1 girl, but from my mom and dad, we're 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're used to just that kind of constant socializing.
And it's work, James. We're in the popular genres, You're in music, I'm in media. Wherever we go, it's with people, with our teams. So, and it's nice. I like to be around people, I think. But I don't know. I want to be also alone a bit.
Well, I mean, you do run a chat show for a living, so I mean, I guess you like chatting and you like socializing. You like finding out about people. You're a curious person.
Very.
I think being an only child, I probably, I have some kind of setting for being alone quite naturally. But I do find eventually I need to be around people. I can't do it for too long. It just, I'm stimulated by conversation, really. So
We have a saying in Arabic that goes, الجنة بدون ناس ما تنداس. Heaven without people is not worth stepping into.
exactly.
So even heaven,
So true.
you know, after 2 days you're like, so
Yeah.
what you said is very human.
Yeah.
We're social creatures.
Yeah. For
You
sure.
know, we like and the funny thing, you know where the whole mindfuck happens? It's when people like their alone time unless they're forced to be alone. And that's why jail sucks, and that's why solitary confinement is the worst kind of punishment for a human being.
I agree.
Because you could do your own solitary confinement if it's willingly. Like, hey guys, for 3 days I'm staying home alone. And you love it. And you know, after 3 days you're like, man, I had such a good time alone. But let somebody say you can't go out. That switches the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. I think loneliness is, I mean, I'm lucky. I haven't had to do too much of it since I was younger. But it's a killer. Yeah.
Who are you, James?
Who am I?
Yeah.
I am a singer-songwriter from Enfield, gamer, probably fringe character in some ways.
What does that mean?
By definite, but I think I always felt like a slight outsider. Too busy, sort of not really knowing the moves, in a sense, you know. Like I've never stuck. When someone says put your hands up in a club, I've never done it. Like everybody put their hands up. I've never done it.
Really?
Literally never done it.
Why?
Like I go halfway up and then I'm like, no.
Why?
I don't know.
Is it defying authority? Is it not
No.
being a sheep?
No, I don't know.
It's interesting.
It's completely. It's like I don't understand it. You know what I mean? I just don't. I don't understand why they're saying it.
That would be worth looking into, though. You know?
Yeah. Well, I
Is
have
it
a
like
therapist.
James the kid not listening to his parents just because he wants to understand why they made an instruction, or a teacher that never made sense, that you're like, no, I'm not going to do it if you don't make sense. Like, maybe, I don't know, I'm just shooting.
I actually think it's more. I'm sure it's more self-consciousness than that. I mean, I am anti-authoritarian as well. Absolutely. But it's not. That's not why I don't put my hands up when people tell me to put my hands up in the club. I just don't know what's happening. It's like I got something missing.
But you said in Dubai you did the handkerchief thing.
Oh my God, that's the first time I've ever done that. So I don't know if that's on camera.
No, I don't think so. Is it recorded? So yeah, we can tell people. You just said that you went to a lounge.
Yeah, basically I went to a restaurant, or you call it a lounge, but I mean, I thought it was a restaurant. And maybe it's the same thing. So I got there and there's a sort of narrow walkway surrounded by tables, and I thought, I wonder what that is. Anyway, then a guy with a saxophone gets up, middle of a loud restaurant, and he starts just absolutely wailing on this saxophone, and I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, because there was a DJ as well. So there's a DJ playing tunes that already have melodies on it, but then there's an extra sax player just doing some superfluous stuff, and I thought, well, this is fun. He's really enjoying himself. People are loving it, like absolutely loving it. And then he starts. So they were just playing some basic beat-driven stuff, and then at a certain point in the night, I mean, he was on for a long time. It was like an hour at least. You know, we've just had most of our food, and this guy's still playing. I don't know if he's like circular breathing or something. And then the DJ plays this tune, and there's no beat anymore, and it's just this really slow arpeggiator that starts playing. And then it gets a bit faster, and he's just going fucking mad. like in the high registers of this saxophone. And then it gets a bit faster, 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 and people start, like around me, people are starting to get hype, like around, like at their tables, like while they're eating. People are starting to get a bit drunk. Then I start seeing people start clapping and getting up, like clapping in rhythm with the thing. And then the waiters are all taking all the ladies up, you know, everybody's dressed up. They're taking them all up onto this little sort of like walkway. So they're in a single file line behind the sax player. Sax player's at the front, basically leading everyone to this drop that's going to happen at some point. But honestly, this drop takes 5, 6, 7 minutes to happen. I mean, it's really long. And it's just like, okay, right. So and then they keep getting faster and faster and faster. And eventually it gets so fast and the drums start coming in, but like not quite. And then everyone's got these like white handkerchief things or like napkins in the air. And I'm videoing it and I've got my other hand, I'm doing it as well. I find myself, it's so infectious, I'm doing it too. Mm. And then it gets so fast and then it just drops into this huge beat. I don't know what the song is, but clearly everyone else does. Mm. And it all just goes off and everybody's just like shouting and like all the napkins go up in the air. It felt like a wedding. It was crazy.
Nice.
It was like I think being 3 English, because I went with my band, like being 3 English boys in that situation was just so funny. Like we're so, it just makes you think of like English culture as just like so rigid comparatively. I don't know if it's just me, but I looked around and I'm like, we don't have anything like this. Mm. This is amazing, you know.
So you did raise your hand and you have it on video.
I have it on video of me just waving this. I mean, that's the most I've ever done, and it was Dubai that brought that out of me. Mm.
Okay, how would you describe your childhood in 3 words?
I'd say it was a mixture of stable and emotionally unstable. And in, you know, so you know, I was lucky in some ways because I had, well, I'll get to the third one first before I talk about it. But also varied. I mean, you know, my parents come from 2 different places in England, one Bath, one Manchester, Salford, on the outskirts of Manchester. And so I'd sort of go between Manchester and, well, it was actually Melksham, not Bath. It was outside of Bath, but in the West Country. And so I'd sort of be back and forth between those 2 places and London. On the outskirts of London. Really the outskirts of every single city I was in, which maybe I've explained my personality in some ways. I've always said that people who are born on the outskirts forever feel in some way like they're not quite part of the party.
Outsiders.
Yeah, yeah. And it's, you know, it's a total illusion really, but it's a feeling, I think. The suburbs. Yeah, so relatively happy childhood, you know, very loving parents, kind of, you know, just supportive when it came to music, massively. My dad's a musician. My mum is a graphic designer. And did lots of things, but mostly graphic design. Now she teaches kids how to ride bikes, like for the local council. I mean, it's like, yeah, it's really wonderful.
Very nice, yeah.
Excuse me. And my dad still makes music, plays music, does gigs, you know. And yeah, so I was definitely, like at school, I was quite heart on my sleeve, I'd say. You know, a little bit vulnerable, probably too vulnerable.
What is too vulnerable?
I think too vulnerable is just vulnerable at all, really, when you're a child. Because, you know, if you show any sense of, if you're asking questions and you don't know the answer, if you place too much faith in people's kindness, or you're gonna get burnt at some point. And I didn't seem to learn when it wasn't okay to just like be completely, truly honest and with my feelings. And so I think that kind of got stamped out fairly early.
What do you remember when you got bitten by a?
I don't remember the first time.
Innocent question.
I don't remember the first time.
Do you remember?
I just remember it happening a lot. I remember just feeling like, realizing that the cool kids were actually people who were less honest. I think that was an early realization.
Interesting. And you said emotionally unstable.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Why? How do you describe that? Wow.
Well, I think that I don't think I was particularly emotionally prepared for the world, really. And so when I went into it, I just kind of got burnt over and over again. And I think that also, you know, I had a quite sort of difficult teen years. I think it just sort of, I don't know, you know, wasn't very successful with girls. In fact, I was very unsuccessful with girls. I lost my virginity hilariously late. I say hilariously, at the time it was hilarious, like, you know, it was it felt shameful. But now when I look back, there's so many people who don't, you know, hang on to it for a bit longer. I was just hanging on to it, not against, you know, not of my volition. But so I'm ticking the boxes so far, right, for like a songwriter. Just someone who's got a bit of emotional damage and, you know, uses songs.
You're ticking the boxes for James.
Yeah.
That's what makes you you.
Yeah.
Can I ask, when you say late, what is late?
I was 22, 23.
You know, what's funny is how culture determines whether it's honorable or shameful, whether religion dictates, in some religions, of course, even in Christianity in the old days, you're supposed to stay a virgin, you know?
Yeah,
then now culture makes you feel ashamed. If you're a virgin, when you get married, they're like, oh my God, like it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Back then they would be like, wow, you know, like good for you.
Yeah.
It's funny how this changes.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I mean, I felt completely like I couldn't talk to anyone about it. I felt like I could not, like, people would be talking, you know, like, up at uni, people talking about sex, and I'm like, yeah, totally, man. Yeah, me too. Like, talking about their, you know, like, 400th sexual experience, and I'm going, yeah, I mean, happens to me all the time. You know, I'm just fucking lying through my teeth. Oh, tits, yeah, man, it's just, what are you gonna, yeah, touch them, yeah. Definitely. And then people would kind of realize that I just didn't know what I was talking about. And I remember someone just going to me, James, have you ever? And I was like, please, can we talk about something
Would
else?
you admit, or you'd still carry along? As if
No, I admitted it. The thing is, if you ask me a question directly,
you don't know how to lie.
I'm not very good at like just lying to people. So I just sort of coasted until someone just like directly asked me, and then. But they were very supportive, actually.
Yeah,
it's
like
funny.
now.
Eventually, I mean, like a lot of things, you know, these thoughts are just in your head, and then, you know, actually,
the thing
most
is, you
people
know
are
what I realized also, James, it's all in the delivery and the conviction. So
yes,
if you say, you told me, for example, you're a vegetarian. If you say, yeah, I'm a vegetarian, you're asking for bullying because you're insecure about it. But you're like, yeah, I'm a vegetarian.
Yeah.
Now it's very difficult to attack, and bullies prey on insecurity.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like a received wisdom from our sort of adult years, but had no idea that was. I really thought vulnerability was like I just thought it would help people know me better. I thought that was what was going to happen. People would just know me better, and then they like me more. I had no idea that the reverse was true. But, you know, this is not to say that my childhood was a mixture of really happy and really sad. And so I was just like, I was really lucky in so many ways. You know, I was privileged. You know, there was a lot of privileges I had that a lot of kids didn't have. And I was, if anything, that softness came from the fact that I was kind of in a bubble a little bit. You know, I wasn't particularly streetwise, like I wasn't. So I think I just kind of, like I sort of overthought quite a lot, and that's enough to, you know, all those combined things. I think it's enough to put you on a little bit edgeways. And so I think that's why music became, you know, when I was at school, music became like a real crutch for me, because I didn't have many friends. So I just spend I'm really painting a sad picture here. I'm really sorry, but this is just you asked me.
Not to me.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it seems like you grew up as an alone child, which by default in most cases is a very bubble. Even you're not, because you don't have the competition with a sibling. Your sibling, the older one, is not giving you the wisdom or experience he's there, so you become very sheltered by default.
Totally.
And then you're blasted into the world, and you have to learn the hard way. And I see that, okay, I don't know how to make friends normally, but I know that I'm so talented in music, and maybe that's the bridge. Now people like me.
I was hoping that would be true as well.
No?
That didn't work either. Well, actually, what happened was that I actually kept it secret. So people knew I kind of played the piano, but like no one knew I sang until I was 17. So I all the way through school, I didn't tell anyone I sang.
But did you know you had a good voice all along?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd recorded it and been experimenting with it and singing a lot, you know, since I was a kid, since I was really young. So I knew I could sing. I didn't feel, there was a lot of like, weirdly at the time, there was a fair amount of shame in singing as a man. I found that I got shamed when I told a few friends, right? And they'd sort of take the piss out of me. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll just keep that quiet for a bit. Probably a little bit of homophobia around that, you know, or like the idea that it's effeminate to sing if you're a man, you know, that kind of thing. Which, to be honest, still to this day, like, you know, like if someone, I don't know, you get it sometimes if a rapper starts singing, you know, people kind of like rib them for it, but unless you can sing really well, in which case people stop taking the piss out of you. And I think that's what had to happen, is that I needed to get from being just singing to being really good and being able to perform in front of. So that's what I did at the end of, I think it was right at the end, like about a week before I left school, I did a performance where I sang. And I remember thinking the reaction was so different from what I was expecting. It was actually super supportive, and like people were like, oh my God, I didn't know you could do that. And, you know, girls started looking at me differently, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, why don't I just do this like 5 years earlier? But it was great, and it was a moment of like, oh, this could actually work, you know? Yeah, because I mean, I always wanted to be a musician, but I didn't know if I'd be a singer. And so, and you know, like at school, I was sort of troubled. Like, you know, I was taking the piss out of the teachers the whole time, never taking any lessons seriously, it was always who could find the darkest joke, who could be the, you know, I mean, class clown is a bit of a cliche, but, you know, I was just disruptive, basically. I was just...
Very anti-authoritarian of you.
Very, and I just really wanted to, at least, because I knew I wasn't going to get anything out of school. From an early age, I knew school was going to not work for me. So I was like, okay, I'm at least going to have a lot of fun here. So I did. And actually, that's where I met my band.
Okay.
And my band, to this day, we're just 3 school kids making jokes, like the whole time.
I love that.
It's the best.
If I take now, fast forward to now,
Yeah.
and I have a white canvas, and I tell you, James, can you draw your current mental state? What would you draw?
Excuse me, sorry. What would I draw? An iPhone screen. No. I'm just thinking about what I do with my brain the most.
Why did you say iPhone screen though? That's interesting.
Just I was thinking about like how unhealthy it is that the iPhone is just so prevalent in my life, and it shouldn't be. I really try desperately. You know what I said to? I made an analogy. I was talking to Rob and Ben from my band last night. We were talking about our sort of, you know, we had quite a deep conversation about how our childhoods, like, you know, informed how we are now, which is funny because we're doing it now. And I said that my brain these days, it feels like being in an RPG where you've got a gun and it's just always shooting and you can't turn it off. It's just always shooting. And so the only thing you can do is just learn where to point it. You can either point it at music, or you can point it at your iPhone screen, and ultimately, you know, or you can point it at a laptop, or you can point it at, it's like, but it's always firing. Which is a feeling of like power. There's a simultaneous feeling of power and also helplessness that comes with that, because you want to be in full control of, and it, you know, they call it, maybe it's ADHD or maybe it's whatever, but it's like you want to be in control of that kind of hyperfocus or need for dopamine or whatever it is. And I think for the most part I now am, and I think that's where I've got to, is I feel stable, you know, now. But it still feels like even behind that stability, there's just a gun always firing, and I just got to control it the whole time.
So the drawing would be still an iPhone screen?
Yeah, but with a gun pointed to it.
Interesting. It's an interesting one, a very unique one. Who have been your best teachers in your life?
Mr. Skinner at my primary school. He understood me. And he was the only teacher where when I let him down, his disapproval made me cry. I just wanted, like, he's one of the only people I've ever, at school, where I was ever like, there was no anti-authoritarianism in me at all. I was just like, I just want you to like me. Not just like me, it wasn't approval like that. It was like, you are a just man. You're someone who I respect how you think and how you are. And if you disapprove of me, then I must have done something really bad. You know when someone's disappointed but they're not angry, it's like, oh, you know, that feeling. Mr. Skinner. I have to say my piano teacher, and my piano teachers actually, because they're sisters. Marjorie and Christine Wortley, taught me a kind of language that I now have kind of molded to my own, into my own sort of materials. And I'd say Jameela as well. Jameela speaks truth to power. But I mean, she doesn't only speak truth to power, she just speaks truth. Just constantly.
Yeah, I found that out at the dinner. It was so refreshing.
Yeah.
Because you know, like James, we sit, you know, our worlds can sometimes combine, me and you. And that's how we met at the Xenia dinner. And at the Xenia dinner, I love going to their events because they're so selective and picky with the humans that they invite that it's always interesting for me. Like I met you, I met Jameela, I met an architect. And I always have good conversations.
Yeah,
and it's the right setting, it's calm, good food.
Yeah.
But now we go on the contrary. We're invited to so many of these lame events that I avoid 90% of them. But you go, it's small talk and blah, blah, blah. And you don't enjoy it. They ask you about the weather. They ask you about like shit that nobody cares about. They don't care, you don't care. And I really don't like these settings.
Well, also, who's drawn to that kind of event? I mean, there's a ladder climbing, game playing aspect to a lot of that stuff, you know, whether it's fashion or whatever. And so I think that, you know, there'll be some diamonds in the rough at a lot of those things. But for the most part, I come away feeling quite empty. And really, I'm just really grateful to be back with my friends and Jameela when I get home. And I would say that on the other, you know, I have met some wonderful people through that. And I'd say Xenia is the highest concentration of great people in one room that I've ever experienced in fashion, for sure.
I always compliment whoever does the guest list is great. Because they don't go for just popularity and follow. No, you see, they'll go niche and...
It's just people who are really good at what they do. I mean, you know, look at Mads Mikkelsen's the face of Xenia. I mean, you got like the people that I see when I go to those events is like Lucas Bravo, you know, like just great. I mean, he's become a really close friend. And I think like minds, rather than, you know, who's just hot right now, who's got the right face. It's like, I mean.
So Jameela, she's sitting next to me.
Right.
And we're talking, and the conversation is already cool. Like it's all pa, pa, pa. And then she goes, the croissant is really nice. Can I have yours? Are you gonna eat it? I'm like, no, you should. And that, I know it might sound silly and funny, it was so refreshing.
Right.
That's what she thought. She feels comfortable and she just said it. I'm like, yeah, of course. And then after she finishes, she's still hungry.
I'm laughing because that's what she does to me.
She looks at the left, she goes to that guy, she's like, are you gonna finish your croissant? He's like, no, bring. And I'm like, this is cute and great and rare.
Well, we have a game, me and Jameela, that we play in Paris called If You See a Croissant, Then You Have to Eat It. So everywhere we walk past, I mean, we've done 15 in one day before. Because both of us are obsessed with croissants.
Okay.
So we just, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I'm surprised it was only 3.
Yeah, that's where she could reach. So.
Well, yes. Yeah. While she was sat down, I'm sure.
Correct. So that was nice. Okay, nice about the teachers. Why music? Why do you do music?
I think I did, you know, I can't explain why I really got into music because, you know, when I first started singing and playing the piano and stuff, well, piano came a bit later. Singing was first. The ukulele was actually first, and singing. But I'd say singing even predates that because I was literally in the bath at like 2 years old singing things. And my mum recorded it. You know, I have like early recordings on tape of me singing, sitting on the dock of the bay. And I'm trying to, but I can't say my S's, so I'm going, it's like it's through my nose, which was a terrible thing. I mean, I'm sure it was like 4 or 5 before I could say my S's. So I went to like a speech thing where they, going, "Tingling sausages," just over and over again until you get it right. That was sizzling sausages, by the way. And
I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah, that's fine. Everyone was.
So thanks.
Yeah, that was the same face that everybody made at me when I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
So I was perfect. But the thing is, what's really kind of spooky about those recordings when I listen back is that I'm doing it over and over again. It's not like I'm just singing the song and then that's it. I'm singing it, don't get it right, sing it again, don't get it right, sing it again until I get it right. Which at 2 is like, what are you doing? I mean, if I was my mum, I'd be thinking, why? I've got a weird baby. But she just thought it was cute. But yeah, I carried on like that. Everything I did, it was just do it until you get it right. And I didn't know why I was doing it. I just did
But
it.
why now? That's how. And I love this story. And
Well,
the videos should be probably in a documentary one day if you haven't already.
Yeah.
But the why now? Because at some point you make money, and technically, I assume, you don't need to do it anymore if you really don't want to.
Yeah.
But then there should be a purpose, hopefully, other than obviously money. And I don't see you as a person who's just money hungry.
I didn't get, I didn't. It's funny, because I've obviously toured a lot in my life, and I've done a lot of, collaborations, and I've made a lot of music. But I've also been on major labels and been touring with major ticketing companies and blah, blah, blah. So actually just kind of got ripped off a lot, to be honest.
But isn't that where you guys make the most money if you tour?
Supposedly.
Okay.
Supposedly, but so the way it worked with records is, streaming kind of took over, and as you probably know, we get paid $0.023 per stream. And as we, obviously it's difficult to make money that way unless you're doing billion stream songs, which I'm not. But if we were to, if that were to be the end of it, then maybe musicians would have had an easier time. But I know, I know like A-list musicians who are losing money on touring, who like literally can't make a fucking dollar out of it because they do, and they've done, I know someone who did 3 years of touring and lost money. And their agents were like, well, that's just what happens. See, that seems like there's something wrong, right? Person everyone's coming to see isn't making any money. And it's not to say I haven't made any money. I'm just saying that a lot of people assume in music that, oh, well, you've been doing this for 11, 12, 13 years. You must be a billionaire. And it's like, no. A lot of the situations I've heard of recently, it just, especially post-pandemic, are just, because what happened after the streaming era is the takeover of the monopolies of ticketing. And so when streaming became impossible to make money, made record sales impossible to really profit. Because you remember a lot of people on an 80-20 deal where the label is taking 80%, right? The streaming service is taking 30% off the top, and then it's split 80-20. And that 20% is what you're recouping your record deal from. So let's say you sign for 100 grand. Let's say you sign for $1 million. All of that money has to be made from your 20% of 70% of a stream. So you better hope you're doing billions of streams, really. So then if you sort of look at the ticketing thing, 80% of venues in America are owned by the same ticketing companies. the ticketing is controlled by them. Most of the venues are owned by them. The venue deals are crazy. You know, musicians just can't make money playing these venues. You can tour that as much as you want, you know, forever, and you'll never really.
So with all of this challenges, because it seems like a very harsh industry, why would you still do it then?
Well, I'm finding ways to do it that are profitable. They're just independent. But I'm only doing that this year. And I think, you know, after so many people profiting from what I do for so many years, and not feeling as if all of it was justified, you know, I'd say a lot of it wasn't. It's been an interesting year. I mean, it's like I looked around and I realized that a lot of my musician friends were going through the same thing. Everyone, you know, and I wanted to do something about it. You know, to be clear, financially, I am good. I'm fine, you know. I don't need to fight the ticketing companies or fight the labels, or I don't need to like create. I mean, I've already kind of burnt all my bridges really with everything I've said recently, and you know, I've noticed the effects of that are very, very, very obvious. You know, they can really turn the tap off if they want to. But the feeling is incredibly liberating. So
I swear I was going to ask that word.
The compensation
liberating.
Is that I feel completely authentic and empowered. And I'm not sure if I would trade money for that again. So, you know, my sort of, because you asked why music? And I was actually going to say, music isn't something I really particularly chose. I mean, I always knew I was going to be a musician. But I'm not even really consciously deciding to make music really anymore. I'm consciously deciding to do something about this. And as much as I've been lucky and privileged in my life, and, you know, I don't need to, like you say, I don't need to I don't need to make it about money really for me. I do think that the lack of transparency in the music industry, because it's probably one of the least transparent industries. If you think about it, there's no test or qualification required to be a manager, A&R, really any of it. There's no qualification required to do anything in music. And so that means it's the least regulated industry. I mean, it's probably less regulated than drugs, to be honest. There's not anyone there for artists when they are in a bad deal or when they're in a bad management situation. No one can get them out. So there are ways to kind of, you know, say you don't try and become the big fish, become the sea. You know, it's like, if we can change the environment, then we don't need to point at everyone and say, oh, you're doing this and you're doing this. It's like, I think the world's already changing. I think and it's just a matter of pushing it along and helping it along by creating platforms, creating kind of transparency motivated accompaniments and scenario and environments for musicians.
You know, I saw, you remind me of the saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. And I think it's about evolving and changing the game. The game is flawed or controlled. So you want to, now the world is becoming more of this independent energy and force. And even so, I think it was Adele in Germany, and I think Taylor Swift, I'm not sure, but they create their own concert venues. They don't need to rent anywhere.
Yeah.
And I know it needs the capital, but they make like 10 times whatever they put in because of their power. So that is also breaking the model. Where you
Hugely.
say, okay, guys, maybe, okay, James, I don't want to put all the money in myself, but I'll talk to 3 of my artist friends. Listen, I want 100K from each of you. We'll build an inflatable space, blah, blah, blah. We have an open garden we're going to do, and we'll do the ticket sales ourselves. Suddenly,
Yeah.
you broke the system.
That's right.
It's pretty cool.
It's happening more often than people probably think. And like you say, Adele, you know, and who was it? Who else?
I think Taylor.
So I think Adele's a good example where I don't know about the Taylor situation, but I know that because I know Lucy.
I might be wrong.
I know Lucy Dickens,
Yeah.
her agent, who is also my agent, and I know she talked about, you know, she was building this thing, and I know Johnny's her brother, her manager, and that situation just seemed so ideal for Adele because, you know, who else is gonna? You don't get Adele in like a black box venue with just like everything's the same as everywhere else. You know, you want to see her somewhere special, and there's so many people who want to see her. It can't just be in a regular venue. So, excuse me. But that concept doesn't have to just be for if you can build your own stadium. You know, that concept can be having, for example, the B-side model, which is what I've been doing my ticketing through, which is, you know, renting things out as private events, doing a ticket drop, finding out how many people actually want to come to a show, but not telling them where the venue is. You sell 500 tickets, you go to you go to a venue with 500 seats, and you say, we've already sold it out. Do you want to put the show on? They say, yes, please, because they've got no risk. You've got no risk, you've already sold them. You do the show, you make much more money because they're only taking 13% of the ticket price, and there's no extra fees.
Yeah.
So, you
Nice
know,
loophole.
my profits on those shows have been double what they were before. So, and I think that means I can pay my crew better. It means I can pay the people in the venue are getting paid better. It means the band, we're all doing better, and it just means that it sort of loosens the constriction on the live industry, because the health of the live industry is dictated to by the people who make up the festival I played yesterday. There's like 300 or 400 people working. You know, it's like everyone involved to get that stage up and to make sure it's safe and to make sure that we are all able to play. You know, the ticketing companies doing what they've been doing, the big ones, it means that the entire health of the industry has suffered. And it's those people who obviously suffer the most, right? So if you take away that monopoly, or you at least offer an alternative that's competitive, the vibe of the gigs are better. Like,
absolutely,
because everyone's getting paid more, and everyone's and they're thinking, okay, well maybe there is some hope in this thing, because we all love it. You know, we all want to just listen to and perform and put on and facilitate live music. So, which is basically is music, by the way. Live music isn't. It's called live music, but it's just music. You know, and when streaming and AI music comes along and all this kind of shit, we'll just refer to it as music because it's going to be the only fucking music that we can actually, we actually feel like real.
Yeah, I think, look, it's always that black horse, even whether it's a streaming platform or whatever, it's that one that just says, fuck it, I'll give triple what other streaming platforms are doing. All the artists are going to go there. It just makes it healthy competition. Now the other platforms have to adapt their percentages and royalties. You need somebody just to disrupt, and then
the issue though is that, like, so many times what's happened is that someone's come along with an idea, like ticketing idea or a streaming idea, and they've gone, yeah, we're going to be fair, and they're fair for the first year.
Yeah.
and then
until they're not.
And then the CEO gets kicked off the, I don't know, the founder gets kicked off the board, and then now we're, just dealing with another corporate that does exactly the same thing. So I think that's why my, this time, all the things I'm working on are deliberately set up to be as direct between musician and fan, and kind of with the least amount of interference from the company. And basically there is no, because if there's no middleman, it's very hard to inflate or artificially insert price, inflate pricing, because people are going to naturally ask why that pricing has changed. Well, what's this fee?
Yeah.
What's this fee? And if there's no one operate, if it's visible that it's direct to fan, then you can't ask for those fees as a company. So
I think it was Andrew Schulz who decided in the end to do his stand-up live comedy on his own website instead of one of the streaming platforms, because of just difficulty of their contracts. Or
Louis C.K. as well.
And that's the beautiful thing today. You can actually have a really good website and you say, hey, for all of you who can't attend my Manchester concert, $1 each on my website, and you get to see a live stream.
Yeah.
And whoop, if you have 1 million people, that's $1 million.
I've done the same thing on.
Give me, I'll give it to you.
Thanks. I've done the same thing with Volt, Volt FM.
Okay.
Volt FM is where I drop like a lot of music, and I chat to fans in the chat room, and
pretty cool.
I have, I post, I'll put up recordings of our live shows, and I'll demo new music there, and give them the uncut versions of tunes, and just stuff that people who fans are going to want to, stuff they want to see, like behind the scenes shit.
It's a nice direct connection with the people who make us.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's been the most wholesome version of my relationship with my fans I've ever had.
I love that.
Because, there was a very small paywall. It's like $3 now per month. But, I'm just chatting to them, and I know who they are. They come to the shows, and I know I've got their email address. I could just say, hello, do you want to come to this other show? It's not like Instagram, where it's like, I don't know who anyone is. It's just a bunch of people. I mean, come and go. I know who some of the like blue ticks are who are friends, or even not blue ticks who are friends. I don't know why I said that. People who are friends. I know my actual real life friends who they are.
You would notice the comment.
Well, it comes up, because of the app, whatever. But I know, there are some people who but it's like, it's hard to genuinely create a sense of actual connection with people through that app, because Instagram's designed to help you build an army that you can't utilize or mobilize, but that they can. They can profit from your.
It's not your database.
Followers.
You don't have a mobile number. You don't have an email. You don't have a birthday.
No, and they're constantly marketing to your followers, constantly, but you can't market to your followers, and you can't tell them really about stuff that's outside of the app, because it will shadow ban links. So increasingly, we can't really use that to like market shows. I mean, promoters all over the world right now are freaking out because Instagram's just blocking their links. And one of the reasons that live music is struggling so much is directly tied to that phenomenon. And so it's like, it's hard for me to tell people about my Volt. Like, it's hard to tell people about shows.
Oh, you just did so.
It's great. I mean, honestly, yeah. We'll put the link underneath, but like, it's crazy. We're just, it's like, we got to find our own ways of, we have to, in almost every scenario we're talking about now, people are starting to create new channels, because how else do you get the word out about something you love and to people you love?
On the other side, do you like the fame that comes with music?
Fame's an interesting one because it opens a lot of doors that lead to really interesting people and things. But I'm not naturally comfortable being perceived all the time. So it's mostly positive, I'd say, for me. And I'm also lucky because my fans are really genuine people. Like I've hardly ever met, I don't think I've ever met one that somebody who listens to my music who comes up to me and says, "Oh, I love your music, thank you for blah, blah, blah." I've never, ever had a bad interaction with one of them. And so, and especially the ones who subscribe to my vault. And I'm not just saying that because they pay. I'm like, they are genuine, you know, it's like they're just so giving and like intuitive. I just have an intuitive sort of generally fan base. I think like my shows are never violent. They're never like, you know what I mean? Like they're never really fights. Like people don't. The closest thing you ever get to a fight is someone going shh, and then someone else going shut up.
Yeah, I read James. Like it looked like an email that I also sent to him. It's like you were talking about the idea of being labeled as sad boy.
Oh yeah.
And it was interesting to read. It was well written, and you were openly talking about men and how just because you're vulnerable, you shouldn't be stickered with such a negative connotation whenever you just express yourself. Can you tell me more about the sad boy?
Well, I think it probably stems from a little bit what I experienced when I was younger about singing. You know, I mean, it's like even then, even like 15 years later, I was experiencing it in the press. I was experiencing, you know, press writing about me like I was weak for expressing emotion. I mean, literally, like maybe he needs to get down to the gym a little bit more or something. It was like maybe he needs to get out more. You know, I'm just like, what's going on? Like, we're living in like the middle of a male suicide epidemic, and you're telling me, like, you're kind of shaming men for listening. Because really, when people read those reviews, they're going, how do I feel about this song? How do I feel about this album? I'm going to compare it to how this person feels. And then they choose to make the decision based on how persuaded they are, or whether they even start to listen at all. And so it's like you're dissuading men from listening to music that might emotionally unlock something because you feel uncomfortable with your own emotions, probably, if you're the writer. And I mean, I sympathize with that. I sympathize with someone, you know, what I wish I maybe said then was I can really sympathize or empathize with a man who is so repressed that the sight of another man expressing themselves is too much, and it's uncomfortable, and it makes them want to stamp it out somehow, shame it, like dissuade others from doing the same thing, so you don't have to deal with more of that. You know, lest we end up in a vulnerable, weak society with men who will cry and whatever. You know, I empathize with that because I've been overwhelmed and I've been at the surface and up to here and didn't want to hit, you know, and didn't want to open up. So I can understand why somebody would write something like that, but you know, that's not how we. It's I think where it becomes dangerous is when you're dissuading other men or women, but I think in this case, especially men, because I think men are vulnerable to that kind of language. You know, when you say stuff like that, or you call it sad boy, or no one wants to be a sad boy.
Yeah.
No one wants to be the boy who cried from a young age. So so if I represent that, then and that's the word you're using, I thought, well, this can't be healthy. And sad boy as a term in other contexts has just been a sort of like throwaway funny thing that people say about their own music sometimes. Like, I understand that. I'm not like taking it too seriously particularly. I'm just saying, like, in these contexts, I just felt that it was damaging.
I actually don't think it's a light thing. I think look, I don't like when we're oversensitive in the world today about any word. Oh, this triggers, fine.
Agree.
I don't think we should be oversensitive. Even stand-up comedy is not stand-up comedy because everybody's afraid of just being funny.
It's taken a significant dive in the last few years.
Yeah, and that's where you're supposed to be like free and an artist and just be funny, and everybody comes with an open mind and laughs and leaves when we go back to the world that is fake and limited and all of that. But I also don't think we should take certain things lightly. For example, sometimes it's in these subtle words, but you build them up, and the 14-year-old boy doesn't want to be called the sad boy or the one who cries or the one who's oversensitive. Now it builds up a character and it builds up this inhibition that I wouldn't. I love that you addressed it, and when you address it, God knows how many hundreds and thousands of men are like, finally, it's okay to actually be emotional about a song.
Yeah.
I like soft-spoken songs. I like emotional songs. Why not? You're a human. She's a human. Everybody's a human.
I mean, look what they did to, it's like people, the way they talked about Drake, or like the way they talk about Radiohead in early 90s English press, or 2000s. It's like, like almost every time a man has made music that expresses sadness in a real way and vulnerable way, they've been criticized for it in England, at least, and in press, music press, and I think it's become less trendy to do that since I said what I said. I think it did have an effect on media by saying that. I mean, I'm not just saying that to self-aggrandize. Like, I remember thinking, a couple of years later, it's like, I haven't seen much of that.
I'm happy.
I'm happy too. I mean, it's a small thing, but I was like,
but it's something.
Good. Yeah.
And it's a start, because now 6 other people, we are talking about it, I'm talking about it. It's a ripple effect.
Totally.
And I know that you openly, James, spoke about your depression and your suicidal thoughts, and you connected them or related them to chemical imbalance. Can you explain?
Yeah, so I think, mental health is a phrase that gets thrown around a lot now. And I can see why that term has been adopted, because we've got physical health and we've got mental health, and it's important that people don't think that physical health in a way it's the easiest way to relay it to someone, to say, well, just as your leg can be hurt, so can your brain, But I think mental health is a kind of a misnomer in some ways, because just like physical health, if we are not constantly bombarded by outside stimuli that are negative for us, then or outside chemicals or outside frequencies or as whatever it is, we are by definition healthy. Our bodies repair and they are in balance, right? And so when we say mental health, you've got a whole generation of people who've grown up on the internet with a severely warped social existence based on social media, a screen time that's creeping up and up, and more chemicals in our food. I mean, I say this as somebody who lived in America for 9 years, and now lives in England. More and more, basically, outside pressures that people have become normalized to, but were not normal in 100 years ago. Sourdough bread was just bread. The food we're eating has morphed into, especially in America and England, is catching up into something that is just sugar, really. And if these are the things that go into our minds and our bodies, then it's very difficult to keep in a balance. It's very difficult to keep, if you're not getting the nutrients you need, and your job requires you to not really get any sunlight, and the industry you work in has become just, a race to, see who goes insane first from overwork. How can we expect people to be mentally healthy? It's like it's like saying, mental health is almost putting the responsibility on the person. It's like, despite all this shit you've got to go through all the time and all these toxins that are being government fed, be healthy. Like, be well, be happy. Like, you're not happy, really? Are you not grateful? You're living in a privileged country. It's like, I think it's insane. And I don't think it's the responsibility or I don't think that is the responsibility of people. I think that's the responsibility of government to make sure that we are facing as few of those toxins and environmental hazards as possible. So, when it comes to my depression and my anxiety and all those things and suicidal thoughts, my diet was fucking awful. I was processing a lot of shit from my childhood probably, but I don't think it would have led me there without the massive assistance of addiction and terrible diet, and the lack of knowledge of those things around me, and the lack of resources to understand those things from school and from the society at the time. I don't. When I look back and I see some of my bad behavior, or my not bad behaviors, my habits, or my negative spirals or whatever, I look back and I go, well, I don't blame myself for it, because I think there was so many things I didn't understand were happening to me that I now see after having removed all of them. So I do think that I have a huge amount of sympathy for people who are struggling in this environment. Somebody said the other day, if you're not struggling in this time we're living in, then there's something wrong with you. I think there's some truth to that.
Absolutely. You said addiction? Addiction to what?
Like light amounts of drug use. I say light amounts of drug, well, I mean like, no class A's really, but like just, I don't know, smoking, I never really drank that much. Video games, porn, any screen-related activity, basically. A screen. Actually, none of those things it's not specific to those things, it's just things that came through a screen.
Entertainment, yeah.
But things that were specifically designed to be addictive through that medium. We're dealing with, like, we don't know the effects of blue light and every frequency that's coming out of that phone. Like, we know that, I tell you what, when I use Twitter, like X or Twitter or Instagram on a desktop computer, I'll log in and log out. So something's going on.
Like you're refreshing because you're so casual. You're casual about your thoughts, you're open, and it's sad for me to compliment it, and I don't mean to take any credit away from you, but I'll tell you why I think it's sad. It's like when somebody says, "Oh wow, Anas, you're so real and so honest. It's lovely." I find a bit like it's a nice compliment, but I find it a bit weird that it's celebrated.
Like, wait, did I go too far?
Like it's celebrated as a rarity. That means this place we live in today is not real. It's quite fake.
I mean, you could say there could be any one thing I said just today that could upset someone. And I think that's the danger, is that I don't want to upset anyone. I want to make people feel supported, and I want to make people feel understood. And I think that's why where, you know, my opinions on stuff like mental health and or shall I say, you know, our equilibrium, it's probably my better way to say it. Like, my opinions on stuff like that and politics and all these things are mostly based in emotion. They're based in the, you know, how much credence we give to that rather than arbitrary dogmas, or, you know. So I think, but mostly, yeah, it's just it, and in my music as well, it's like, I want you to understand, I want you to listen to a song and not necessarily need to intellectually understand something of the song, but just to be changed, your vibration to be changed from listening to it, feeling it.
You know what's crazy is the way, like you said things that I think we know, but you put them together in a way that is simple, that is great. You know, they say simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So you simplified something that, because sometimes we're harsh on people. We're like, bro, you need to do therapy, or you need to do this, or and we're making it such a binary solution. And it's not that simple, because you're against so much that maybe me and you and our teenage years, we were never up against all of this. We were never up. We used to play Atari or Sega 1 hour a day, and then you get bored. It's not that entertaining, you know? So then you play out in the garden.
Because they weren't designed to be that.
Correct.
Like that, basically.
But now our kids and this generation, they're up against an extremely addictive platform that is not regulated. You don't have to get a license to get on social media.
That's right.
It's not like 18 plus. Cigarettes are, but social media is
And
not.
there's no regulation of addiction in video games either. Like any type of...
Like your 8-year-old son could be fully addicted to a video game. Nobody knows. Even the parent is unaware.
Yeah.
And he might have addiction symptoms, and we don't even fucking know. And that's just, we just talked about one thing, and then you talked about the food. So you kind of made it simple that it's not just somebody has the intention to take care of their mental health. They're up against natural things, which is food being digested that's playing with his hormones and chemicals, and he feels
hormones.
Your body doesn't feel.
I mean,
good.
That's a bigger thing than I think lots of people even give credit, you know, for. And when I was in LA, I drank the tap water most of the time I was in LA. And we might need to cut this out because it's almost too crazy. But I started gaining weight in like, sort of like areas like my hips and like on my chest. And I was like, this isn't like, I know my body. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but like, I just noticed that I was gaining weight in ways that I had never done before. And so I spoke to someone about it, and they were like, yeah, do you drink the tap water here? I was like, yeah. She was like, well, there's a lot of estrogen in the tap water.
Wow.
And it's because, you know, sanitary products are being, or like the pill just going down into the drains, you know, through periods or whatever.
So your estrogen goes up, and then you gain weight, and
well, my hormones are being, it's essentially feminizing. Or you could say that my hormones are imbalanced, and you know that I felt really off. You know, I felt sort of like foggy, and something was just off. I didn't feel good. Found it very difficult to regulate my mood, and these are all the symptoms of estrogen imbalance in men. And so I think, and you know, there are many more, but I'm saying that, you know, regardless of the whole gender conversation, it's nothing to do with that. You know, like I'm not making a point about, oh, I don't want to feel this way, or I don't want to put on weight this way. It's just a natural
imbalance.
It's just the imbalance that was leading me to feel a certain way, and that was making it very hard for me to feel normal, really. So, or feel good. So
This feels like a very Joe Rogan bit here.
yeah, I mean,
That's crazy.
that all I'm saying is that that's what happened to me. I'm not saying that every man is going to experience that or every woman is going to
Then
experience
just
that.
think about, James, the fruits that are being injected. You're having fruits, none. There's no season for fruits anymore.
Totally.
It's always there.
Yeah, you buy organic food in America. It's like you've got to check about four different ways. That are you like sure it's organic? Like, is it organic, really organic, or is it organic? You know, is it organic sold at Ralph's? Or I mean, I'm not sure if anything is organic at Ralph's, but is it organic? Like, I mean, how organic is it? You know, what are we really eating? I mean, how
We have to just farm our own food, it seems.
You know, when you said, you know, just telling men to, I'll just do therapy. You know, it's like, I've told men to just do therapy. I've told my friends to just do therapy. You know, in moments of frustration, you know, like, can't you just figure it out? You know, just go to therapy. But it's like telling someone to go to therapy as if that's a great idea and that's going to fix it is like just saying, oh, just stop doing drugs. So you got to figure it out. It's not, you know, it's not just as simple as, oh, go to therapy and you're going to get better. I know people who've been in therapy for years and they're just, you know, it doesn't seem to be doing a huge amount for them. It's about what you take from it what you're willing to excavate, and if you've got a great therapist too. So
that's another
it's
challenge.
just the beginning of the conversation to go to therapy, and I think that too many people go to therapy because they just wanted to like appease someone or appease a situation, and then it's like they go and it's not going to do the work for you. You've really got it, and that's why, you know, I swear to God, like the majority of the last 8 years I've spent doing more of that work than other work, like just trying to recovery essentially.
You know, I think the takeaway, so we can move to the next one, but the takeaways, because I really want to benefit people, the takeaways is if we can, I think anything in life is a collective of things. It's not, again, binary. So if we can try to eat a bit cleaner, not all this junk food and this preserved food is one, to sleep well, which we always undermine. Don't sleep, you know, work harder, blah, blah, blah. I used to do that shit. Now I'm like, no, I have my measurement and I check my sleep app and all of that. So I think sleeping at least better, eating a bit better, exercising, walking, cardio, whatever, move your heart every day.
We're just like dogs. If you like, when you see a dog and the dog's not happy, what's the combination of things that you're gonna
exercise, good food, love?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really simple.
And
those things are,
and for us to control screen.
If you're honest with yourself and you say if one of those things is missing, if none of that's missing, then you probably feel pretty good. The you know, check the nose. Is the nose wet? Yes. Getting enough water. You know, it's like the amount of times I've been humbled by realizing I just haven't drunk any water that day, and that's why I feel like shit. I mean, you know, but that's not to you know, undermine all the things we just said. I'm just saying, I just think that, you know,
it's the collective.
But
therapy alone not enough.
Yes.
Therapy, shit food, shit exercise, screen time all the time.
But this is what I'm saying about the responsibility being placed on people, right? I think there is some.
Yes.
Obviously, we all have a responsibility to ourselves to do the best we can. But if all of those other things are being made really fucking hard,
it's much harder.
Then I think it's.
But what we can control is what we can, and I hope different governments and different countries are. I've noticed some of the European countries are putting more regulations. Like I think in Sweden, you're not allowed to have phones in the school anymore. The teenagers don't bring their smartphones to the school. That's something. That's 8 hours without a smartphone. So, Anyways, we'll go to another topic.
Excuse me.
What does love mean to you?
I think it's a kind of pure energy. That can be sort of beamed in a direction of your choosing, really. And if somebody chooses to beam it at you, you really feel it. And that can be just purely by being with them. It could be in a relationship, it can be in the context of music, it can be in the context of a friendship. I think it's the most powerful weapon of good that we have. It's underutilized, I think, sort of en masse.
And what does Jameela mean to you?
Pure love.
Is it good beam?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, also just constant. I mean, we're like two kids. We just honestly haven't stopped talking since we met. We just, like, my example of a favorite day would just be walking around chatting, eating croissants.
It's a good day.
Really, yeah. We don't really do a lot, you know. We just kind of, especially because our lives are so busy otherwise.
You know what's funny? How we describe that? We're not doing a lot, yet you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yet you are. That's called quality time. That's called intimacy.
Well, we recharge it. It's like you recharge each other. If you're in a, I think my favorite type of relationship is where you recharge each other, and not that you come to each other completely empty and they are responsible for recharging you, because ideally you save enough that you can be present with them and like loving with them. But I think just there's some life force that I can't put my finger on and don't really know how to describe that gets recharged when I'm with her. And, you know, it's like, yeah, impossible to describe, really.
That's the beauty.
Yeah.
I don't think it should.
Yeah.
But how long you been together, can I ask?
10 years.
And what do you think is so important? What is that thread that you feel without it, this doesn't stay healthy?
Almost total honesty.
Almost, wow, interestingly put. Almost total honesty, because total honesty can come off harsh or rude or insensitive. Okay.
Yeah, I think sometimes, like in a relationship, you need to work out your thoughts before you say them to the other person.
Yeah.
You need to kind of like, sometimes you need to focus group them a little bit with either your brain or your therapist or your friends.
I agree.
Before you bring it to them.
I think it's immature and unwise to just blurt out things in the name of, I'm just being honest.
I think so too.
That's retarded, I think. No.
I think so.
You're an idiot and you're selfish and you just want to vent. I think if you actually care about the receiver, there is timing, there is regulating your emotion before delivering it.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing that when we first met, I struggled with the most, is like regulating that desire to just say what I'm thinking in the moment, even if it's going to not be the fairest thing or it's going to hurt their feelings, or, you know, I found that difficult. And I think she taught me how to do that in a really meaningful way. And I think she's just very good. She's always been very good at that. I was always a little bit like, how can you do that? How can you just like, you know, how come you never just fly off the handle and say the wrong, you know, she didn't really behave like that. She would just calmly say what she feels. And I think I had to learn that. And I think you know, a lot of men would probably be like, oh, she tamed you, you know, like, because a lot of men, when they see a man in like a good relationship, they'll be like, oh yeah, under the thumb.
Yeah, it's weird.
Cock.
We make it like a negative thing.
Well, yeah, because
the guy could be just happy.
Yeah, it's just they might just have actually learned something.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice. I think it's, you know, a lot of the habits I learned from other men. There's some good ones.
Yeah.
And there's some bad ones.
Usually for relationships, they're bad.
I mean, yeah, they weren't all good for me. Yeah. So and you know, that's the thing about like growth as well. Is it's like, it's not always, I think a lot, like growth really happens when it has to. Like no one goes, I'm going to work on myself and I'm just going to become a really, really balanced human being. Like, I mean, I'm still trying to balance myself out, but, we'll never be perfect. But no one does anything because they feel like it in that way. I think the relationships that are sent to you that help you grow the most are the ones where you just can't watch them leave. You can't be the reason they left. It's like
stupid if you do.
Yeah, it's like that this person is really, really, really worth holding on to, so much so that you would rather do the difficult work of, if you're a man, very often just crying and being open and just being like, shit, I need to figure this out, and apologizing, or being not just groveling, actually understanding what it is you did, and then being like, oh, I actually don't want to repeat that with anyone, not least the person closest to me. And it's not just apologizing to get back in good favor. It's realizing that it helps both of you to be the best version of yourself. And
I interrupted you earlier when you just said, I blurted loyalty.
Yeah.
And because you said man, straight away I'm like, because you're so tempted as a man and a woman. But, men take maybe the sexual escapades more lightly, unfortunately. But, to be loyal, I think is a challenge in the social media era for both men and women. And to say, I'm not even talking about physical cheating. I'm talking about emotional cheating. And
just any at all.
She's not giving me attention. I'm going to go get attention somewhere else and get my dopamine hit. All of that, if you start to get your IV from everywhere else,
right,
then you're not investing in this human who you're trying to build a proper communication.
Yeah.
And vulnerability, as you said.
Totally.
You hurt me when you said this, and really now I'm bothered all day. And I wish next time you don't do this because I feel really disrespected. That's growth. But if you're like, she's not going to give me, I know this other girl that's going to give me the respect I need.
Right, totally.
You're not being vulnerable or...
Yeah, and it's also, I think relationships are hard because not hard, but I think the balance of blame is difficult because, there's a lot of focus put on commitment in a lot of cultures. English culture is very, it's like you get married at a certain age and you just settle down and you have kids and you got to commit to that person, and it's mostly monogamous and probably comes from a Christian tradition, blah, blah, blah. And I just don't really believe in the term commitment, the idea of commitment. I think commitment is arbitrary. I think somebody's either right for you and they're worth fighting for, and you've met the right person, or they're not. And why on earth would you commit to someone who's not right for you because somebody or society told you, well, you've got commitment issues? And now that's a phrase I really don't agree with. Like, having commitment issues, I think it's just total misnomer.
So do you believe the right person, you don't need to make a conscious decision of committing, you just stick to that person because they're good for you or compatible?
You just keep coming back. It's like there might be complications along the way, but they just draw, you're just drawn to them. And there's I'm going to do something that musicians should never do, which is quote my own song. But the actual phrase came from something Jameela said. So I'm crediting her. It's a song called Choose Me. And the song, the lyric goes, I'd rather you chose me every day. And that sums the whole thing up for me. It's like, if you keep choosing me, then, and we're still together after 10 years, then what's the difference whether we said we commit to each other or not? I mean, we might as well have been married. Who gives a shit? It's the same thing. You know, we got to live it without the constant feeling of, oh, I'm trapped. Because that's my biggest fear, is like, you sign that paper and suddenly it's like, okay, I ain't got a choice now. And I'm going to, you know, it's going to be legal. It's going to be so boring to actually like leave this thing that now there's an added pressure on every conversation, every argument, every little bump in the road. It's like everything has more pressure attached to it, in my opinion. But I mean, that, you know, that's not objective, obviously. That's what I think.
You have the red card and the ABtalks card. The red card is cool because it's more like these would you rather questions.
Yeah.
I like them. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What is something you do differently than anyone else you know?
When I put hummus on a crumpet, the way I sort of like layer it on is, by the time I'm done, it looks like a perfect dome.
Like that?
Perfect.
Really?
It's like, it's just there's no sign that there was ever a knife involved. It looks like
Sculpture.
It looks like a sculpture, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What is the craziest thing you've ever done for another person?
It's a really hard question. I don't know. Just trying to figure out if I've ever done anything for someone else. No. I mean, I've like flown people somewhere. I've had someone in like, you know, a friend in distress and just like flown them out of the country to like come and join me.
Okay.
Just to be like, get out of there.
Okay, it's a nice gesture.
It's like a sort of like care package,
Yeah,
or like a
escape ticket.
Yeah, I do that sometimes.
That's nice.
Yeah.
If I asked you to describe your relationship with music in one word.
In fact, I've flown to a country to get them out.
I like that more.
Yeah, that's more.
Effort,
that's less than like, oh, just like went on my laptop and just like booked a flight. No. I've actually flown across the Atlantic to come bring someone with me.
That's being a good friend.
So what was the next question?
If I asked you to describe your relationship with music in one word.
I don't think I have one.
You can't summarize the relationship in one word?
I don't think I have a relationship with it. I just think it's never not been there. I don't really know life without it. It's just, I guess,
default.
Present. Oh, I mean, you know, it's like, yeah, it's default probably. Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't either. I mean, I know that, you know, there's a version of life that doesn't involve it, and I sometimes fantasize about that. I don't know how much. I don't know how. I mean, I know that I'm musical, and I know I love it. You know, I love everything pretty much about it. But I don't know how much of it, my involvement in it, was trained by having a dad who's in music, or how much of it was just chosen.
So this next question works. Have you ever considered walking away from music?
Yes. Multiple times, yeah.
Okay. What happens in that debate?
I don't think I know how to do that. I don't think I've ever known how to do that. You know, the gun's always shooting. So it's like,
the good thing
who's going to get shot? You know
is you're using it. The good thing is you're using it for good as much as you can, it seems.
Yes.
It's a voice, it's affecting people, it's making people feel something. We're talking a lot about today music and how we can use it to disrupt and to... So that's, I think, satisfying.
Yeah, I love what music has brought to my life. I love what it, you know, I met Jameela through music. You know, I was doing a radio show at Radio 1. She was on Radio 1, so
Okay, cool.
My band, we came together through music. They're two of my best friends. You know, most of my best friends make music or, you know, either love it or make it. And I relate to people through music, and actually music describes something about me that comes across that my words can't actually convey.
It's your art form.
Yeah, and actually I over explain. You know, like I've done it this whole interview. You know, you'll ask me a simple question, and rather than just be like, "Oh yeah,
I'm used to this."
I just love it. Like, I'll just be like, "Yeah, so," and I'll just go into this whole diatribe about something, and it's because I want you to really, really understand what it is I'm saying. But nothing could really make you understand how I feel more than just playing you a song I wrote, or, you know, being emotional, or it's my way. I guess in some ways it's my way of as a man of being emotional in front of people, without feeling kind of exposed.
But you know, I think it's nice for your fans because they get to hear your art form, which is more simplistic in the lyrics. It's shorter. But I really think they'll be refreshed to hear you be philosophical. It's different because now we get to hear this human who writes these songs, who sings these shorter 3-minute songs.
I don't think people actually want that.
We'll see.
I mean,
We'll see.
I don't think they do.
Let's see.
I think they'd rather we just shut
We'll
the
read
fuck
the
up and make
comments.
music.
We'll read the comments, we'll see.
Yeah.
They'll be like, either shut up or like, wow, I love this. In what ways do you feel you might be holding yourself back from reaching your full potential?
Don't spend enough time you know what, I don't know. I take every interview question very seriously, and I think that holds me back. Because if I really was applying the same brain I apply with my friends to everything that we just talked about, and most interview questions, none of my interviews would be serious. I'd always be trolling. I'd come up with complete bullshit, and I'd, you know, there'd be so many theories, there'd be so many like fake stories and shit I'd made up for fun. That's what I really want to do. But every time someone asks me a question, it's just like I said earlier. So I just go, I'll answer you completely sincerely. And I always feel like I come across more earnest than I actually am for that reason. I think so that's one way. I could be freer with. I could feel freer, I think. Like in my expression, in my body, in my movement, physical movement. I always feel like I never really unlocked it.
Maybe you should in your next concert and perform. No, not even. Like in a concert that hopefully I'd come to. Yeah. I would like to see you for 8 minutes just let go.
I sometimes when I really like being at the front of the stage.
Okay.
Because something about being on the front of the stage unlocks something in me that's a front man. That's actually supposed to be there, rather than just sat behind a keyboard. That's another way in which I feel like I've held myself back a little bit. Is by sitting behind this thing. Like I actually feel like more of a front man than I let myself be. I think that's actually changing in the next show, because I do want to do more kind of upfront stuff.
Done.
Yeah.
We have a commitment here. Would you rather question? Would you rather lose all your memories or never be able to make new ones?
I mean, either one is irrelevant to the present, isn't it? So I'm not sure.
It's a tricky one.
I'm not sure which I. I feel like, J-Lo's like 50 something or something, and she's like had the most insane career, and she gets up on stage and she's like, and I'm just getting started. I feel a bit like that, I sort of feel like I've just started, I've just embarked on something really,
so
really important, and like I'm really excited about it. So in a way, maybe I just get rid of the old shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you rather lose your voice or your ability to write?
Probably my ability to write.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were not James, would you be James's friend?
I think so.
Okay. What used to make you happy but no longer does?
Well, I was going to say people saying nice things about my music, but I don't think that ever made me happy, really. Or releasing music, I don't think it ever made me happy. I always felt, honestly, my saddest days when I put out a song.
Really?
That's when I feel the most kind of imbalanced, yeah.
Interesting.
But the, like, things that actually used to...
Can I ask why it's your saddest day when you release a song?
Well,
it's anxiety or it's your trying validation?
No, it's like a funeral for the song. It's like sending it off across the river.
So you'd rather keep it to yourself? Not released?
No, not keep it to myself, but those times where it's mine and I get to work on it and just chip away at it and like be like
before you sell it
and talk about it with my friends and like show it to my friends, and then
it's like an art piece.
We're like, well, what do you think of it? And they're like, that's fun. That's like a puzzle. It's like we're all just doing this puzzle, and then we send it off, and then I'm like, but luckily I've got another one. I got another puzzle. Let's like work on that like immediately before the gun starts shooting fucking ADHD everywhere.
Okay, back to the question. So, what made you happy and no longer does?
Made me happy. It's a really hard one. I actually don't know the answer to that. Because I know things that make me happy now that didn't used to make me happy.
Well, you said you want to let go more, so make some people unhappy.
That's not how I want to let go.
I tried.
Nice one though. Almost. Good try.
I don't know. I thought maybe it's one. Maybe.
No, it's, yeah. I don't think I have anything for that.
Fine.
Excuse me.
A piece of advice that's always stuck with you.
Always stuck with me. People will come to things in their own time.
Come to
things in their own time. So this you know, sense of urgency you have for them to fix something or for them to change something about themselves or whatever it is, because you want to help them. You can never make somebody ready for the realization that you can see that they can't see, or you think you can see that they can't see. You might be wrong. But yeah, that you have to back off sometimes. You're trying to force the realization is only going to end in resentment.
It's the saying, you can take the horse to the water, you can't force it to drink.
Can't let them drink, yeah.
Dinner table with 3 people, dead or alive, to have dinner with you. Three chairs. Who would they be?
Eric Satie.
Who's that?
He's a composer.
Okay.
He famously stacked 2 grand pianos on top of each other, maybe 3, I can't remember. I think it's 2. Apparently mad, but
genius.
I'd love to just like ask him stuff.
Okay.
Had an interesting life story. Oscar Wilde.
Nice one. First one to invite him.
Oh, really?
And over 200 interviews, yeah.
Probably the most quotable man to ever live. And oh, of course they don't. They can just be alive.
They don't need to be. Yeah. They could be.
Jameela as well, because I'd want to witness it with her and talk about it later.
I love that. Okay, I have. So this is the card game that we have. That you can. We'll give you one also to take back. Right. So you can play with Jameela, with your friends.
Nice.
Or at any awkward, boring, light dinner, you can make it deep. So this switches things up.
That's never been my problem.
That's good. Then you don't need the card game.
If anything,
Okay.
I probably need to stop doing that.
I'll mix. You mix. Yeah. And I'll choose yours, and then we choose one for the audience.
Oops.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, nice. What is so I'll ask the question, and this is the way to answer it. So you just throw it on the floor.
Okay, cool.
What is your most memorable family memory? Let's see. What does it be open?
Be open.
Yeah. What is your most memorable family memory?
One of my most memorable family memories is seeing shooting stars with my dad.
Okay.
In Pembrokeshire. So that we used to camp because we didn't. I mean, we'd go on like. You know, we didn't have any money. We would just drive to somewhere and camp, basically, in tents and for holidays. And it was great. I loved it. And so Pembrokeshire is in Wales, and about 3-hour drive from London. And you can see like UFO. Basically, you know, like Bermuda has a Bermuda Triangle. Well, there's a Pembrokeshire Triangle.
Okay.
As well, and apparently, and I witnessed multiple UFO sightings, and also shooting stars multiple times as well.
Wow!
In that one spot, and we went back a few years in a row. You know, the kind of UFOs that are like, you know, they're moving impossibly fast in diagonal directions and stuff like that. Like no plane could ever move like that. That kind of thing.
How cool.
Really, really crazy.
You're definitely going on Joe Rogan. That's the kind of topics he likes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I've got nothing more than that. I wish I could explain it, but...
Interesting.
Actually, I mean, it was...
I was on my US tour, one for the audience.
Yeah.
I was gonna do, and hopefully we will.
Oh, it's the same fucking card.
Really? No way. No. What the? Wait.
Is it all the same card?
No,
What's your
that's
best childhood memory?
Yeah, it's actually a bit different, but this is
Oh, is
that's
it?
the most memorable. This is the best childhood memory, which is similar. So we'll go on.
Pretty similar.
Yeah.
Unless I'd come up with something traumatic, I guess. Do you think opposite genders can maintain a friendship without developing a love interest? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
It's
I mean,
always a debate, a big debate.
I mean, since being with Jameela, through her, I've met some amazing women who I've ended up, some of them become close friends, and it's wonderful because I'd never had that before. It might help that I'm in a relationship, but we just genuinely have a platonic energy, and it's always been like that.
Okay.
So with these women, so I feel I'm an example, of having that, and Jameela has the same. When I met her, she had 3 incredibly close male friends who became my best friends too.
Nice.
So I'm really lucky that I can say that's and I think it's important too. I think it's like, because now that I've got some like female friends who are close, like I can really ask them stuff that I was never really be able to ask. I didn't have anyone to ask before. And there's just such a different energy, and they bring such a different thing. So, yeah,
that's true. Okay, what are you afraid of?
What am I afraid of? Whatever's going to happen next.
Which means what? Is it an anxious energy?
No, I sort of don't like the cocktail of things that are happening in the world at the moment. Not loving it.
I don't think anybody is.
Is a sort of
It's a weird world at the moment.
Yeah,
very weird.
I'm not sure how to process it, especially because so much of what is online is difficult to pass as to what's real and what isn't. And I feel like I'm in a constant state of slight elevated kind of, and I think it's fair to be like that. And also, so many things that used to be called conspiracy are now just accepted fact. So many things that you then find out about that might be happening, it's hard not to go, well, if I can imagine it, then it's possible. And therefore I can't fully rule a lot of things out. So, truth has so often been stranger than fiction in the last 4 or 5 years.
Very true.
Especially with our lives being so, I don't know, dictated to by the digital world. So yeah, that's, I guess, just what's next, really.
What is something hurtful somebody has told you and you haven't forgotten?
Can only think of funny things.
I could tell from your facial expressions that you're scanning funny ones.
I don't hurt my feelings. Problem is when you've got a platform, it's like saying it, you're calling them out. I sort of don't even want to call them out on this, because not to, you know,
Yeah.
to
But you mean they said something?
just the undervaluing of like just undervalue. I think the undervaluing me, I think caused a kind of almost like a reaction of like trying to generate value in a way. That sort of didn't stop for a long time, and I think has finally stopped. So now I don't even want to talk about it because I'm over
which
it.
is fair.
Yeah.
Who's someone you've lost and you wish you could speak to again?
Fucking hell, you don't need this pack of cards, do you? You just got all these. You got them all ready to go. There's a couple of musicians who it still hurts when I think about the fact that we never made music again together, and how kind of outside of my control it was, and even outside of their control, really. But I can't really name them again because it's just too public. You know.
When was the last time you cried?
About a week ago.
Can I ask why?
Yeah, I think I'd sort of realised I'd been in a kind of overdrive and like not really realised it because I was so addicted to the feeling of being functional, which is rare for someone with ADHD to feel that functional. But I got ADHD medication like about a year and a half ago, and it just made me like just very practical and able to do stuff in a way that was way more efficient. And so, you know, earlier this year, I sort of when I left my label, I left my manager, left everyone. Called out the touring industry, called out the ticketing companies, called out the streaming services. I mean, couldn't have done anything more destructive to my career really if I'd tried. And I did it before I lost any more, you know, because it was cutting my losses essentially. But I think the position that left me in was so isolated and alone, and needing to step up to the mark and take control over basically everything, self-manage, you know, on the phone 24/7, you know. I was going, maybe I shouldn't have left my manager. But no, I was doing a lot, and I hadn't, you know, it was really hard and overwhelming. And, you know, I'm in the studio and then I'm just taking I'm doing this at the same time as like trying to write music and finish an album and do it. And, you know, it's like, it's just, people around me were just going, you're not, it's impossible to do all this. And I was like, you think it would be, but actually I'm doing it. And I was doing it. And I have been doing it, but I needed more support, and I got that support, but I had to find the right support. And so to find that right support, put it in place, build a team, build a structure to release music through, build a structure to ticket my shows, build a structure to like give music to my fans, literally had to build everything. You know, with the help of certain individuals who were, you know, at the forefront of the platforms. But like, you know, I'm doing on my end everything, you know, and then that's at the same time as touring, and that's the same time as making the album. And I think it was like a the floor is lava type situation. And I think I was just traumatized by just touching the lava and being like, shit, I just can't go back there. So I think I was just in overdrive, and like I say, addicted to that feeling of being really, really functional and like getting shit done and bossing it. And ultimately just wore myself out completely and kind of just, had to accept that I was doing too much is the phrase. And actually I did a breath work with a company I just joined, Open. A guy called Ride, who runs this breathwork app and in-person experiences called Open. And it's a platform that I'm now doing the music for. So even this, I was involved on a business level. Do you know what I mean? It's fucking crazy. But anyway, so Ride flies out to Mexico where we're doing a show, and I was like, please just come out and do a breathwork class with us, because I'd never done it before. But I just felt, I get these really strong intuitions, and I just knew that him flying there to do that, it was going to be really important to me. And I did this breathwork class, and I was just like, I was vibrating. Like, it wasn't like shaking. It was like just vibrating at like 1,000 beats a second, when you plug a laptop into the socket, and you run your finger over the laptop and it goes because it's plugging into the wrong socket, wrong power voltage or whatever. That's how my body felt.
Wow.
And I couldn't really open my hand. It was just on my hands there was not in a bad way. It was just a sensation I'd never experienced before, because I was just like, whatever was happening after this few minutes of just this constant breath work, it was just having this huge physiological effect. And I was doing it with my band and Ride and like a couple of other guys who were promoters in Mexico. And at the end of it, we all were talking about we went around and talked about what we took from it. And I just burst into tears in front of this whole group of men. And, which as a man, you'll probably relate that it's not the most comfortable thing to do. Maybe we've been taught that it's not the most comfortable thing to do, right? And they were so understanding, but I just fucking, it was just like, it all came out.
Wow.
I couldn't hold it in. It's just like, I was just like so stressed. I was just like, and, and since then I've, pushed the album back, give it more time, perfect it,
Marinate.
Yeah, let it breathe a little bit, and give myself a break, and just actually enjoy the people around me and the things I'm doing, and do an extra day in Dubai. Come and hang out here, I know this is, people probably assume this is me just doing promo or whatever, but I took this because, we met at the Xenia show, and I've wanted to do this for ages. And it's really nice to get to chat to you, and it's interesting, the questions you've asked have brought out a lot. I mean, to be honest, I want to ask you a lot of questions, but obviously that's not really the format of your show.
When you have a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Or when we go and see Thames later. Although I don't know if that's, maybe she'll be on.
We'll see.
Soon. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. And that's why I have actually come tonight with a fairly calm energy, I think.
Yeah, I can tell. What does your dad, James, mean to you?
My dad?
Yeah, his name is James?
Yeah. Jim. He calls himself Jim, yeah.
Okay.
He is, what does he mean to me? I mean, everything. He's the reason I do music at all. He truly invested in me, in a way that is incredibly generous, and just taught me a lot. taught me through the mistakes he'd made, but also the victories he'd had. Taught me how to navigate the industry. Funnily enough, my dad went independent around the same age I have. He left his label, he left his manager, he started he started distributing his music himself. The same age.
He's probably looking at you and smiling and be like,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Makes me emotional to think about. He also lived in California for many years and then moved back to England, same way I have. Same age. I mean, how do you explain that? Isn't that crazy? It's so unconscious.
Why did that make you?
God, you're really trying to make me cry, aren't you? It made me emotional because he understands the feeling that I've had, you know. I'll get myself together. I think the feeling of being disempowered and lost. And the feeling that no matter how much you do, how much you write, sing, whatever you do, or in whatever job, feels like you're just pushing back at this invisible force that's stopping you from really being able to share in the product of what you've made, you know, in the not just money, but the, you know, your control, your power of self-governance. And just, you know, missed opportunity. Stepped on a fucking mine there. Yeah, the missed opportunity and the, you know, how hard you had to work to keep things afloat when it needn't have been that hard. You could have enjoyed your life more while you did it, you know. Didn't have to sacrifice so much. And so I think he understands that fully. And I think in saying, you know, what happened with him, you know, because what leads you to do all those things, you know, it's not being in an amazing situation. You know, you don't go independent because you're being treated really well. You don't go do it on your own when there are so many, there's infrastructure out there you could use. You don't choose to limit your reach and stop your music from being able to be accessible to more people for no reason, you know. You do it because you know that it's not fair. And you know it's not fair for you and it's not fair for everyone else either. And I don't really want to, I'm not doing anything righteous or brave or anything. I'm just doing something because I don't have another, like, it didn't sit with me. You know, I couldn't live with, I couldn't be with it and be like, yeah, you know, I'm just going to sign away all my power, you know. As I say power, I don't mean power over other people. I mean power just to
be you,
to be me and be me when I want to, you know, and give people what they, you know, want from me when they want it, not just in, you know, and make the music I want to make, and for my friends and the people who, you know, all the musicians that I know will this year and next year and in the years to come be, you know, empower themselves by, because the thing is, it's like, it's not just business. It's not, it frees you to be creatively free.
Mm-hmm.
It's about ultimately about emotion. It's creating a situation where you can be truly yourself and no one can tell you shit. And musicians haven't had that.
For a long time.
No. And that's all we do. You know, that's all I do. But that's what I'm here to do. So if I can't do that, then there's no point in me being in it at all, which is why I said earlier that I thought about leaving so many times. And the least I've ever felt like, so I'm still feeling it, but I think it's because of the dad stuff. The least I've felt like that has been this year. You know, the least I felt like walking away. The most I've felt invested in doing music and playing to fans and like sharing this love and excitement over music. The most I've felt like that has been this year for many years, maybe since I started.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you know how it's really nice to see how blessed you are that you have Uncle Jim to empathize, because it's a lonely place to be and you're against a monster of a system.
Yeah.
And if you were feeling like nobody understands, even Jameela, nobody, your best friend wouldn't understand. You needed, and who better than a father that gets it, you know?
Yeah. It's really been bonding for us, actually, you know, because we were close when I was much younger, but I think, you know, in your teen years, you sort of break apart from your parents, don't you, and stuff. And I think that, you know, now when I go home, we're talking about ways to empower ourselves. And it's like, whether that's like this stuff or, I don't know, crypto or like, you know, shit that's just, you know, taking things into your own hands. I think that's why people love crypto so much. It seems just like some nerdy shit that, you know, only certain people do it, but it's like
decentralizing a monopoly,
decentralizing finance, and I think it's again, it's an emotional thing. You know, it's like they're trying to do what I'm talking about with music, but with money. All power to the people, you know.
How's Mom Helen?
She's great. Yeah. And she's another person who I relate to about this too. I mean, she went independent, so to speak, as a you know, an artist and as a graphic designer too. You know, she went freelance.
Oh, it's in your
when
blood,
I was young.
man.
It is.
It was inevitable.
Yeah.
Like, I think all of them like, yeah, it's about time.
Yeah.
That James did this.
For sure. It feels like them, and if I look back, probably my ancestors are doing the same thing. Yeah.
Go on, James. Wow, that's pretty cool. It's nice that you're these brave humans, all of you.
We all are. Humans are brave. I'm not doing anything.
No, I don't mean actually. I think your family as humans are brave. Some humans are not. Because they're too scared or too afraid by whatever power. But some people, yes, they're scared, and that's bravery. They still act, and it's really hard to do what you.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not I am a bit terrified all the time.
What you should be to a certain degree.
Yeah,
It would be
yeah.
very weird if you weren't. I would not understand that.
I agree, and I think there's also, you know, Shav Garg from Indify, who's where I've just done a independent record deal. He says, you know, the Indify sort of motto is musicians are founders, or artists are founders. And I think the sort of founder mentality is kind of, it's a bit scary. It's just a little bit scary all the time. But it drives you to some extent. And yeah. It's fun as well. It's fun making those calls.
Cowboy.
I mean, it's fun when you cut all the things you thought you were reliant on.
Yeah, and look at us. You're here.
For sure.
Breathing. You're alive. You have your health. You have your parents. We get so boggled down by these fears.
So true.
The cancel culture, nobody's going to get me business. They're not going to sponsor my show. Mm-hmm. It's scary.
Yeah.
But the real value, health, family, that we can actually get up and do things.
Yeah.
You know, if we lose that perspective.
It's so true. I mean, even just, you know, sometimes I'll do if I'm in like I'll do a therapy session, and my therapist is like I've been living in LA for 9 years. Just moved back to London, but I lived in LA for 9 years, and this is the first time I've mentioned my therapist. In LA, somebody will mention their therapist within the first 3 minutes of talking to them. I will be talking and, you know, over-explaining and doing my thing, and then he'll go, James, just look up, focus on because we'll be on FaceTime. He'll be like, look up, focus on the tree you're stood next to in like Hyde Park or something. It's been there for however many hundred of years. And it'll be here after you're gone. And nothing is, you know, it doesn't care about what's going on. It doesn't know about, or maybe it does, but it doesn't probably know about this thing that you're experiencing. And just be with it, you know, like, I mean, I'm not quoting him anymore, but I'm just, as in, I'm now adding to it, but to say that, you know, it's interesting when you think about the more permanent fixtures in our world and nature and stuff like that, and you compare them to the things you're stressed about, it's a powerful
contrast.
Powerful, yeah, like sort of water to the face, you know, you just go, oh yeah, totally. But also it just brings you into a sense of sort of oneness, and it's nice.
Hypothetically now, if it's a hypothetical question that I like. If I can take your heart and place it out, what would your heart tell James today?
Put me back in, I think.
Other than that, that's your funny side.
Has no one ever said that?
No, they did.
Okay. I'm dying. I don't know. Probably keep going.
Yeah, because you're scared.
You're onto something.
Yeah, you're scared. It's new territory, limbo. Keep going, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're on the right. You're knocking at the right doors.
Last question. James in one word.
Idiot. And that is in the
How are you
ancient Greek use of the word.
Which means?
Which meant someone who goes off on his own.
Ah, really? Is
I
it
think
true?
so. I think so. Don't.
We're gonna Google it.
Yeah, it's meant in the it's meant in the case of like democracy. It was about democracy. You know, somebody who just doesn't cooperate with the group
Interesting.
and goes off on his own.
Very
Or
fitting.
their own.
Very fitting. Thank you.
Thank you.